My name is Eric Searn, and this is my story. I'm a 49-year-old father of 4 wonderful children, husband to my best friend Jenny, and most importantly, I'm a follower of Christ. My life before Christ was filled with drug addiction, alcoholism, anger, fear, a couple stints in prison. And ever since I was a little boy, I always kind of felt like I wasn't good enough. And I do remember feeling that way all throughout my childhood. It, could have been the reason I chose drugs and alcohol, but I just always remember feeling like I didn't quite measure up. Carried on through my teenage years of getting in trouble with the law, problems with my home life, and even through my first marriage. I did grow up Catholic, so I had a fundamental idea of God, but I never really knew Christ. He always seemed like he was just so far away, and honestly, I didn't really believe. But I'm thankful for my parents because the seed was planted, and today I wholeheartedly believe that that's the reason I was saved for myself. In May of 2013, I was on the verge of a failing business, failing marriage, and I had this addiction that controlled my life. It was all catching up to me, and I was really at my end. On May 19th of 2013, I attempted to take my life. Not because I wanted to die, but because I didn't see any other way. That led to a string of legal charges that ended me up in jail. And as I sat in jail, I remember vividly the day that I surrendered. I prayed to God, and not even really truly believing he was real, desperately for help. I was full of fear, hopelessness, and I was severely depressed. I remember feeling a sense of peace in that moment, and it was that peace that I held on to when I got out of jail. I remember I had nothing but like a laundry basket full of clothes, man. I had lost everything, my home, everything. And I was accepted into a sober living house to restart my life. So I was pretty humbled. And I stayed sober. Being in AA allowed me to experience Christ. And I say that's where we met, but it really was when I surrendered that day in jail. And soon after I met my wife, Jenny, and when we met, our faith was something we shared together. We went to Christian music festivals, concerts, lots of camping, went to church together. We ended up buying a house and got married and had a couple kids, and things were going pretty good. After about 6 years of being sober, we decided we're going to leave AA and build on this life that we'd been building together, About a year later, we were both drinking and smoking regularly. And at first it wasn't a big deal. It was like socially, but the life we both wanted was becoming harder to manage, and it was a driving wedge between us. I noticed that, Jenny would change the radio station in the truck when it was on Christian music, and she stopped going to church with me and the kids, and our marriage was pretty lukewarm at best. Basically, so was my relationship with Christ at that point, I married this woman I loved with the understanding that we held the same beliefs in regards to our faith. And I was of the firm belief that Christ needed to be the foundation of our marriage. But looking back, the truth of the matter is, and the reason why it wasn't her thing, is because the change she had seen in me in the beginning when she met me was no longer present in my life. I wasn't the man she married. This, over the next couple of years, was something I prayed about regularly. Not to push her too hard, not to shame her, for strength to stand firm and raise my children in the church and know Christ. But I was still projecting anger and frustration, fear, all of these things. And I prayed for Christ to soften her heart. But what I would soon realize is that her sign, or her heart softening would not come from Christ alone, but Christ in me. Me being the example of love, joy, peace, and forgiveness, and all the things I was not. 6 months ago, after a pretty large argument, Jenny told me she didn't want to be married to me any longer. Her reason was that I'm always angry and that we're just not compatible. In the past, when she accused me of being angry, my response would always be, well, if you would only, I wouldn't be so angry. And this time was different. I was immediately humbled by the fact that my marriage was about to end, and not because she didn't do her laundry or because the house was a mess or our finances weren't in shambles. It was because of me. And at that moment, I realized that I couldn't blame her for all these things because they weren't the problem. I was the problem. So the next 24 hours was pretty rough. I asked her to give me another chance to be the man she needed me to be. And when we met 12 years ago, we were both sober. So the only thing we've introduced to our marriage in that time was negative, was chemicals. And we needed them gone if we were to grow together. So she agreed. We went back to marriage counseling, which we did in the past, but Jenny chose Kingdom Counseling, and it's a Christian-based organization. This showed me that she really was invested in us and my desire for faith in our marriage and the direction I wanted to lead our family. I leaned into Christ, praying every day and reading the Bible and praying for guidance, wisdom and the ability to see my faults and focus to be able to change. Bless her, change me. That was my mantra. Things were getting better. We were communicating, setting goals. There was a lot more peace in the household, less anger and yelling. But there were still some things that surfaced, man. Alcohol is a demon. And Jenny was still struggling with alcohol. She was hiding her drinking. And when I found out, what changed was my response to it. I didn't condemn her. I didn't make her feel guilty. I didn't make it about me. In the past, I would have just, how could you do this to me? Or, how could you lie to me? And I would make it all about me. And she was extremely apologetic and told me she didn't want to do this anymore. And I believed her. I trusted her and I loved her through it. And I realized in that moment that God was working in my life and he was present in our marriage. I wasn't really even angry. I wasn't even upset. I was experiencing the fruits of the Spirit. The dynamic of my family was changing. Jenny wanted to start going to church. We started praying together, filling our time with reading books, watching Christ-centered movies and TV. I know, for me, what I input, I output. And more of him and less of me became my goal. And we're doing it together. I'm extremely grateful. And I'm so proud of my wife for the work she has done to become the woman I need to help me become the man she needs. The more I focused on Christ and his example by daily reflection and prayer, the more my perspective changes from myself to others. I'm reading the gospel daily, and through that I've felt the connection stronger than I ever have. I just made a decision to recommit my life to following Jesus in every aspect of my life. Shifting my focus to Christ instead of my worries, my finances, and the things that are out of my control. And it's all because I continue to keep my eyes on him. Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him and who have been called according to his purpose." And that is definitely evident in my life, and I'm extremely grateful.